Hello there, my name is Chris Palmer. In today's SEO for Beginners tutorial, I'm going to walk you through the Google's guidelines, the Google Raters guidelines, step by step on what you actually need to add to your pages to make sure that you're compliant. So I have gathered up 20 separate tips of things that you actually need to add to your pages to make sure you're not only compliant, but also making sure you're setting up your foundation for success moving through the year. So I'm going to walk through these 20 tips step by step. And first and foremost, this is all based off of this particular guideline. Now, we've read these guidelines and it's page after page after page, but what actual elements, literally, do we need to add to the pages to make sure that we're getting our EAT signals, that's what we want to call them, and making sure we're within guidelines. So these 20 tips are literally going to be what you literally need to add to make sure that you're compliant and making sure that you're setting your foundation, your SEO foundation, up for success. So that's exactly what we're going to get into today. So let's not waste any time. Let's get directly into it. So first and foremost, you need to know, all right? We need to make sure that we know, all right, exactly what schema markup is. So before you do anything, you need to make sure you know what schema is, all right? So schema is very, very important, primarily and basically because this is what's going to allow Google or other search engines to come to the page and understand all of the elements instantly. So the very first tip that I want to go ahead and give to you, what do you need to add to your page, is number one, all right, is going to be the authority.gov outbound link. All right. It is mentioned within the guidelines that outlinking to an authoritative source a website is an example. Let me go ahead and show you an example on this particular website that I'm working on. If you look down here at the bottom, there's licensing for this company. I've decided to outbound link to a .gov website that is pertaining to the licensing. So if you're running a business as an EAT metric, we want to make sure that we're outbound linking to an authoritative source. So something relevant, so it could be the Chamber of Commerce, it could be your licensing details, anything pertaining to your site that's a .gov authoritative link. So that's going to be step number one. We want to make sure these are in no particular type of order, but these are the elements that we want to make sure that we're adding to the page. Let's not waste any time. Let's keep moving here. So the very next thing that I want to make sure, and I'll give you examples as we go here. Number two is rel publisher. So rel publisher has to do with basically an old metric, but just like we're analyzing for our on page to get recommendations for our matches, exact matches, phrases. We want to make sure that we're in the runnings, optimizing to our competition. We want to do the same thing for any type of metadata or anything that's within the source code. So rel equals publisher. It is a schema. So if you're seeing that your competition has this, we want to make sure that we're adding this to our page. Let's keep moving on. Again, this is a schema type. Now, naming each of the elements. So whether it's a person, place, thing, we want to make sure that we're implementing and utilizing our person schema. So what exactly is person schema and what does it do? So what is person schema? So let me go ahead and give you a quick explanation of this. Person schemas are focused on specific individuals. For example, your schema for your friend might include information about her appearance, her behavior, her personality, and preferences. So if we're naming a person, place, or thing, right, which is what we want to do, this is a person, this might have to do with our crew, our business, our employees. This could be us as the owner. We want to name the person on the page. So make note of this. Again, they're not in any order. I'm just adding them for you. All right. I'm just giving you the tips that you need. So 3 is going to be person schema. Make sure that we're naming the people without any shadow of a doubt. Number 4, let's keep moving on here. I wrote down some guidelines here, so don't you worry. So this is going to be the next one, publisher schema. All right. So this goes back to naming the properties, all right? Publisher schema, we want to go ahead and add this to our pages. So let's go publisher schema. What is it? Publisher schema. All right, publisher schema is going to, how to specify publisher schema, what is it, right? That's what you want to know as a beginner. So, I know what it is, but I'd like to get a professional write out of exactly what it is. So what is it? What is publisher schema, and why should I add it to my page? That's probably what you're wondering. So publisher schema, it's given me the same exact answers regardless of how I add it, but if you come over here to schema.org, we can see here that it's part of naming entities, person, place, or thing, basically. And what this is our publisher schema. This is going to name our creative work, right, of the organization or the person, all right? So if we're naming first and foremost the person, we're also going to name the website, we're going to name our business, we're going to get into that too. But again, we're just breaking down all of the elements of the page. So make sure as you're filling out your schemas and you're filling out your page, so make sure so Google comes to the site, they know exactly what they're looking at. Make sure you're getting the publisher schema. So make sure you're utilizing that. Let's go to number 5. I wrote notes, but I just wrote them very sloppily. We're going to add in OG data, right, which has to do with Facebook. And we're also going to, OG data has to do with Facebook. Twitter cards have to do with Twitter. Now, most times, most competitors are going to be implementing these types of schemas on their page, or they're going to be having these accounts. Real businesses, non-fly-by-nights, most times are going to have social properties. So we want to make sure that we're naming these properties if we have them, especially if we're linking out to any of these social entities. So what I want to add here is going to be a Twitter card, all right, and the Twitter description, all right. So if you have a Twitter account and you're outlinking, make sure that you're adding the Twitter card, all right. We want to make sure that anything that we're doing on our pages, we're naming within our schema. We're breaking it down in the macro data, in the micro data, all right. Let's move to number 6. So number 6 is going to be, again, looking at these types of metrics from here. All right, again, you can read through this, but I wanted to break down literally 20 elements that you can add or should add to your pages. All right, if you're just joining me, you're wondering, what are you writing out here? Based off of these guidelines, what 20 things should actually be added to the page? These will be 20 tips for you, and that's exactly what we're doing here right now. All right, if you're just joining me. So if we're moving on to the very next thing, and we're talking about trust or EAT factors, right? We want to make sure that we actually have contact information visible on the page. So of course, authentic businesses are going to have contact details. They're going to have a contact page. They're going to list and utilize their phone number, their address. They're going to have these details visible on the page. So if you have not put this into your template or into your plan, make sure that you have visible contact information and a contact us page. All right. All right, let's move to number 7. So number 7 is going to be having either GDRP, I believe it is, a cookie policy. All right, so GDRP, it's a policy. If you come take a look at this here, I think I have it up because this GDRP.eu, I was coming in here because there's a couple elements that we need in order to match and to fit these guidelines. All right. So what do we want to make sure that we have? I'm going to go ahead and write that out for us right here. So GDRP policy. All right. Let me go ahead and write that. A cookie policy. All right. We want to make sure that we have our terms, right? Terms of service. These are trust signals, and our privacy policy. All right. Now, I've seen multiple different variations of this on websites when analyzing competitors of how they did it. Now, if you go take a look at the issuer of this, if you take a look at their site, how they're doing it, which is what I did, they literally broke it down into two separate elements. All right, so if we come down here, you can see they have a privacy and a terms of service. Within there, they're naming their policies. All right, so what I would do or recommend is coming over here to GDPR.eu. Take a look at how they wrote it. They actually have templates that you can get. I absolutely positively would add this to your pages. If you take a look, especially in this market that I'm in, a lot of the top rankers will have not only their GDRP, their privacy, cookie policy, and consents, but they'll also have accessibility and their company policy listed. So depending on your industry, when you're looking at your competitors, you may want to go ahead and just add these particular elements to the page, whether it's in the footer or in like a drop down off of your consent or privacy policy pages. All right, so I want to go ahead and add that to the list. We have GDRP, cookie policy, terms of service, and privacy policy. All right, again, going through these metrics, let's move to number 8. I think we talked about contact information, privacy policy. So we have the contact information, contact us. I want to expand on that, or it could be a help, right? Or a help us page, all right? That is clearly defining the phone numbers, the addresses, the emails of you or who they can get in contact with if there's any issues, all right? So I want to make that pretty clear. Let's move on to number 8. So visibly showcasing the phone number, all right? So again, this is certainly a metric. If you go reading through here and you start picking out literally what do they want us to do, this is one of them. All right, so visibly having a phone number, not just on the contact page, but visibly having it on your home page and other pages is absolutely a trust signal. All right, according to Google's guidelines. So let's keep moving down the list here. Social links. Now we talked about that a little bit. All right, so social links. Social profile links. All right, so that's outbound. Now again, if you're in not saying that if you're an actual business, you probably have other social medias or other outlets. All right, so depending upon your leading competitors, they might have one, they might have two. But again, when we're looking at trust signals, we're breaking down the elements just like if we were doing on-page or off-page or traffic signals. It's the same thing. So if I see that they have outbound links going to Facebook, if I have a Facebook account, I'm adding that. If they have Twitter, if they have YouTube, if I only had to pick 2 or 3, my top 3 are going to be Twitter, they're going to be Facebook, and they're going to be YouTube. All right, so those are going to be the 3. So having social profile links outbound and then naming them within the schema and naming in schema. Absolutely, positively a trust signal. It's within the guidelines. Let's move to number 10. So number 10, let me see what I wrote here. Having a blog or a news section, all right? So if you take a look at any top rankers and it's written within here, even within, say, the industry that I'm playing around in, let's just look for plumbers, all right? So plumbers, New York City, all right? You'll probably tend to find that some of our top performers will go to this one. This is the top performer that's not Home Advisor. Let's go to Hub Plumbing. Let's go see if they have some of these elements. This is just plumbing. I mean, again, if we were to go to real estate, okay, in Miami, all right, I'm just showcasing so you have a deeper understanding here. So if we go down here, let's just go to this one. Here's our page. All right, so this is a realtor in Miami. I would assume that this is going to be a relatively competitive niche, right? If we take a look down here, let's see here. So we have our privacy, our terms of service. We have the contact us and a DMCA notice. I didn't read anything about that. They're putting all of their details in here. Let's see if they have the phone number or at least something within their contact page. I would assume that they have here. Here's the accessibility statement. Again, I've been seeing this more and more. I would certainly add this in. If we're looking at our GDRP in our policy, right, I would do accessibility policy. All right, probably spelled that wrong, but I don't care. All right, so I would definitely look into that, looking inside of your market when you're looking at your competition, lead performers. Do they have an accessibility, GDRP, cookie policy? It's absolutely best practice to add these things, all right? So where was I leaving? Oh, blogs. All right, so blogs or a news page, or at least if you don't want to write a blog, which if you want to rank on Google, that means that we're doing content marketing, right? I've ran into this with multiple clients, even the bigger guys. You know, they're not in the business to create content, but we are certainly in the business of ranking and getting traffic from Google without having to pay $23 a click or $80 a click in some cases, right? So if you're trying to rank on Google, you definitely are probably doing some type of PR, and you're also probably trying to target other keywords in order to get some traffic, right? So with that being said, within the guidelines, if you have a look, and feel free to go ahead and have a look at any of these, anything that I'm telling you. Again, this site's doing the same thing, but it's best practice to have either a news or a blog, all right? So having a blog, which is news or things about your website, or it could be like a regular blog where we're targeting multiple different keywords, but within there, any mention or any type of media, press releases, anything like that, we want to list these types of elements. Why? Because it's certainly a best practice according to the search guidelines. So what I want to add on here is a blog or news section, all right? And I feel that linking or talking about any press is certainly one of the elements that I would add to the page. All right, so if there's anything big that was talked about you, I'd add that into my news section, but definitely having either a blog or a news section on your website is within the guidelines. All right, so certainly a must. Let's move to number 11. So number 11 is going to be just kind of like up here with our cookie policy, but it's going to be our copyrights. All right. So copyright details, if you look at the bottom of pretty much any page that's ranking, you'll come to find, just like your privacy policy, GDRP, your accessibility policies, a copyright statement is going to be best practice. So it's within the guidelines. Make sure that you're adding it to your pages. All right. So let's move to number 12. Number 12 is going to be my terms of service. Now that's going to be kind of up in here. I gathered them all together, but I want to make sure that I'm writing them out so I don't get off track here. So terms of service, I know they're kind of the same here, but they're actually split up. Like your copyrights, your privacy policy, they're separate sections within the guidelines where they're talking about these elements of trust. So I want to break them up on my list here. All right, so terms of service, copyrights, definitely on there. So let's go ahead and go to number 13. Reviews. All right, so let's do reviews. Reviews and naming your reviews and having a dedicated page for your reviews. So if you're going to have, if you are getting reviews, it would be very, very advisable to have a reviews page or a testimonials page, right? In order to showcase these. And then by the guidelines, you're supposed to put these types of ratings only on these pages as far as the schema is concerned. Now, I've seen lots of competitors where they're doing it on their homepage and there's nothing even on the homepage related to reviews. We want to make a testimonials or reviews page. It's definitely within the guidelines to have this if we're getting them. and we want to utilize our schemas on that page that are either going to be aggregate or our review rating schemas. All right, so having those pages, let's go ahead and put that in here. Let's get rid of that. Let's come back over here. So having let's scroll on down here. We're going to scroll down because we're on number 13 here. We're going to go to our pencil and let's make this bigger because I wanted to make sure I got a lot of tips in here today. So number 14 is going to be, or actually 13 is reviews or testimonial pages. 14 is adding review schema to the correct review or testimonial pages. All right, so once I have a dedicated or specific page for testimonials or reviews, then of course I want to name those reviews, whether it's aggregate or basic review schema, on that page only. That's per guideline, and that's how it should be done. All right, so number 15, moving down the list here. So we talked about different types of schemas, whether it was person, naming the website, naming the web page, the archives, right? Having a reviews page, testimonials page. So another page of, and per the guidelines, right? So let's bring this up. Let's bring this down. Let's bring this over. Let me bring this over here. All right, so let's make this one small now. Okay. So as per the guidelines, all right, they state, now I want to put this here. They state that it would be very, very beneficial, and it's considered a trust or an authoritative metric, is going to be naming either your employees or the crew, and having a page that's dedicated to this. In multiple niches that I've gone into, whether it's boats or any of them, I've been finding more and more times now they're literally listing out these details. All right, so having a crew or a partner page, all right, that where I'm listing my employees, my partners, myself, literally listing out my entire business, and then creating those entities within the schema. So having a crew or partner page, and then 16 is going to be on the crew page, right? Or the employee page, where I'm listing myself, my sales representatives, and whatever the case is, your type of business. On that page, we're going to be able to name out, even think about this, the person who's writing your content, even if it's your nephew or whatnot, I would name them on that page. Your content marketing expert, I'd name them so they can be an expert on the page when they're writing content based on your topic. You want to name not only the website, but you want to name, okay, I'm a publisher on this website. This is the web page. I'm naming the page. This is an article, right? It's article schema. I'm naming, okay, here's the owner, here's the writer, here's my secretary. You see, we want to name all of these pieces. Why do we want to do this? We want to name these entities. We want to be synonymous. If I'm in the financial industry and I have a writer that keeps writing the content, and I'm continuously putting this in, hey, he's an expert on this topic and he writes this content. You get what I'm saying? I want to name these elements for Google. So on the crew page, we want to use schema to outline each element. All right, so and each person. So we want to name them all and create them. This is a person, this is their specialty. If you go and you take a look, I don't want to make this too long. I think that touches on that topic good enough. All right, so moving on, because I have other videos that I want to create breaking that down. So I just want to give you that element first. I don't want to get too far deep on any one of these because I have video ideas for naming the people, what types of topics to put in there, other entity associations. I want to be able to showcase that. I think it'll be very beneficial. So I don't want to get too deep on that right this second. All right, so, and again, these are in no particular type of order, but having the address, all right? Address, literally on the page. All right, so the address of the business on the page. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, whoa, I'm a service area business, and I don't, I hear this all the time. For that instance, you have to get your mail somewhere. And I think on the Contact Us page, you could probably, and I'm sure you'll have your email, you'll have your, what you probably are getting mail at a P.O. box. I think for some instances, it might be okay to have these details as far as at least having that trust metric, all right? So you're gonna have your phone number, your email, your text number, your fax number. You're gonna have all these details. I think where you're getting your business email, if you're an LLC, your registered agent address is probably fine. Something along those lines is going to be fine, and it's a trust signal. So I just want to go ahead and add that in there. Let's go to number 18. So number 18 is it goes back to naming the page. Publisher, it's an article. I'm naming the crew. I'm naming the what they do. My local business I'm adding. The types of services, what I know about, the facts page, right? I'm adding all of these details to the pages that are relevant. So when Google comes, they know immediately what they're looking at, right? And who I am and what I do and who works for me and the services I provide, right? And the reviews I've gotten from, the people that I've serviced. So on top of that, it's going to be the organization schema, all right? So organizational schema is literally exactly what it sounds like. All right, just to break it down so you know what it is. Organizational or organization schema or schema, as it is, they'll lay it out every single element. If you take a look at this, you see how they're breaking everything down, and you see how this website schema.org breaks it down, every single type. Not only will it break it down, but it'll also show you and give it to you of how you can just go ahead and copy it and add it to your page so it's relevant. So organization, naming the organization is definitely one of the elements you want to add to your page. Let's keep moving down the list here. So now that we're on organizational, we've talked about already our cookies and our policies, the GDR page. One of the next elements that I would want to add is having my email address for support / just regular contact or help us emails. Having different types of emails. So one's for support, one's to contact for sales, one's to contact for whatever's prominent or whatever's relevant to your business. Having those different email addresses that address different types of topics and subsets of your business is definitely, it's within the guidelines. All right. So adding those emails and having them pretty prominent on the page so people can actually see them and they can get in touch with you, it's certainly a trust metric, and it should definitely make it to my list here. So that's going to be number 19. And number 20 is going to be, again, it's going back to the schema. So people schema, again, it's naming the people, the places, the things. I'm naming my business. I'm naming what I do. I'm naming the reviews. Anything that makes me whole, right? Anything that names my business, what I do, my services, my reviews, every single thing that's on the page. And I also need to create those same exact words, but in schema. So Google, the bot, knows exactly what my page is about, what my business is about, and what I do. So that's going to wrap up the 20 tips as far as building out a foundation. The 20 tips for what you should actually be implementing to a page. What should I be looking at, Chris? So let's do a brief recap here, and I'll run down the list now. So these are in no particular type of order, but here's the top 20 tips for establishing on a page or a website that you certainly need to do here. So number one is an authority outbound link. So to your licensing, to whatever's relevant to your business, but an authoritative .gov link outbound can certainly help your page. 2, rel publisher. Let's base this off of our competitors. Do they have this on their page? If they do, let's add it. It's a schema type. Number 3, person schema. You'll see throughout my tips here, I've gone through multiple times. What I'm doing is I'm naming the page, what the page is about. I'm naming the people, the elements, the video objects. You want to name everything that's on the page. It allows the bots to know exactly what the page is about and what you do immediately. Number 4, publisher schema. Again, it's the same concept. I'm naming what it is, who it is, where it is, what they're doing, and why they're doing it. Number 5, a Twitter card and a Twitter description. Not only is this going to add keywords to the page and to the rendered DOM, but it's definitely a trust signal. Twitter is big, and what I really love about Twitter is you put something on there and you want something indexed, it's instant. Google loves Twitter, so should you. I want to, as an authority metric, if I'm looking at social profiles, the top 3 for me, and I would recommend, are going to be Twitter, they're going to be Facebook, and they're going to be YouTube. These 3 are ultra helpful, and I want to utilize the schemas for not only Facebook, but also Twitter, so it made it to my list. 6, contact information, a contact us or help us page, a dedicated page. It's within the guidelines. GDRP, cookie policies, terms of service, and privacy policy. And don't forget your accessibility policy. Make sure that we're able to get these in at the foundational layer at the very beginning of a campaign. Number 8, so we want to make sure that we have our phone number. It's prominent on the pages, not only the contact us, but make it easy for you to be accessed. Whether you have a sales team or a marketing team, whatever the case is, we want to make it very easy for the end user, for your customers or potential customers. Number 9, we're looking at social profile links outbound and then naming the schema. What I talked about for Twitter, same thing for Facebook. If they have a schema and your competition is utilizing outbound links to social profiles, it might be highly beneficial, or it is highly beneficial, that you do the same. Any profile that you have, make sure you're outbound linking to it, and then make sure you're utilizing the corresponding schema for that. Name it within the page. Number 10, a blog or news section. All right. This is going to be very helpful, and also include any type of media that has been written about you. So a news or a blog section, if you go and read the guidelines for EAT or the Quality Guiders guidelines, you're going to see that they talk about these types of concepts, having a news page. All right. So highly beneficial. Number 11, kind of with the terms of service, copyrights, terms of service. They all play hand in hand. GDRP, the privacy policy, cookie policy. It's just a foundational element. All right. So moving down the list here, a reviews page or a testimonials page. So if I have a reviews page, not only am I going to have the reviews or testimonials page, but within that page, I'm going to name the schema, review schema or aggregate rating. So not only do I get the enhancement in the SERP, so the stars pop up, but Google will also know, hey, this is a real business. They're getting reviews. They have a dedicated page. It's within the guidelines. They want you to do this. And on top of it, I'm able to get those stars to pop. So that's highly beneficial. Going down the list here, we talked about 14 within the same. Having and listing and creating a crew or an employee page. And then naming your crew, what they are and what services they provide within the schema. So I'm listing a page. I'm creating a crew or an employee page. This is the owner. This is the sales director. This is the marketing manager. This is the content writer. This is my professional financial advice guru, or whatever the case is. I'm naming all of those properties, all of those entities, and it's within the schema, and I have a dedicated page on this. Being very open, being very transparent. I'm being an authentic business offering a quality service. These are quality metrics, all right? Moving down the list here. Number 17, the address on the page, not only on the contact page, but having a place on the page where it's listed. If you check a lot of the top results, you're going to see a lot of these elements playing part in the top rankers. So it's Having this prominent somewhere on the pages, highly beneficial. Going down the list, organizational schema or organization schema. Again, it goes into this is who we are, what we're doing, who works for us. I'm naming the pages. I'm naming every element on the page. I want to create my property as an entity in Google's eyes. Down the list, email address for support, being upfront. I have a sales email. I have a marketing email. I have a support. I have a help email, right? Having these easily accessible on the pages and readily being able to use, highly beneficial. Going down the list here, and then the people naming the elements on the page. This is over and over again. If you're reading the guidelines, quality guidelines, the raters guidelines, you're going to see over and over again. Not only do they want us to construct the pages and have all of these details, very easily accessible, but within the code, they want us to name these properties. It's an added trust signal. They talk about it over and over again. So if I'm going to make the dedicated page, I also want to apply the schema that goes with it. All right. So I hope that these 20 tips have been helpful. These are certainly foundational element tips, certainly beginner tips, things that certainly need to be added to the pages. So I hope that this has been beneficial. My name is Chris Palmer. If you have any future questions related to, EAT, user guidelines, pretty much anything related to SEO, digital marketing, ads, Google ads, really anything at all, always feel free to go ahead and ask in the comments below. And I most certainly look forward to seeing you in the next SEO tutorial, search engine optimization for beginners video. Have a wonderful day.